Well, happy Wednesday, everybody. It is West McDonald here. And of course, I'm with my best buddy, Kenneth Edmonds. How are you, Ken?
I am fine. It's great to be sitting here on the beach. Well, not really. I'm sitting in my office, getting ready to head up to Asheville, North Carolina for the BTA's fall foliage event. I am so looking forward to it.
Yes, and I'm not sure if I'm supposed to say this or not, but I can't actually be there. I think we talked about it last week because of a big foobar with some PCR testing, which is a requirement for me to get back into Canada. And but the good news is I've got that all sorted out for the show that we're going to be talking about today, which is very exciting. ITEX has always been one of my favorite shows. Every time that I've attended, it has always delivered far more than I went expecting. And, you know, Ken, it's one of those events where we get together with our peers in a very non-stressful way. And so much gets accomplished, right? Between the education, the peer bonding, and things that happen even outside of, you know, the regular track stuff, right?
Oh, I agree 100% with that. I had the privilege of attending ITEX. I think it was 2 years ago. I lose track of time since I retired. Every day is just day. Every day is just day now. There are no more special days. But I learned quite a bit from the sessions there, and it's always so nice to be able to get together and be able to talk to your peers and your prospects and your vendors and all of those things, and to start to build some connections. And it's one of those things that's been sorely missed, in the last couple of years because going on 2 years now, really, because of all of the COVID things.
Yeah, really, really terrible, right? And I think this year for me too, it's especially exciting because we've had this forced break from being able to do any of these kind of things, right? And you and I have spoken about many times, but this will literally, ITEX will be my first trip in 2 years, right? And I'm like everyone else in this channel, and especially being Canadian, that I'm going to these shows and traveling probably once or twice a month. So I am super stoked and excited. And hey, for everyone that is watching today, remember, we love to hear your comments and questions. So if you got them, leave them, and we'll make sure that we post them throughout the session. And it's always fun. We get quite a few comments. Sometimes they're telling us about things that we're doing wrong, technical glitches.
and we do have them. It's live.
We do. And other times, exciting things that are happening in the industry. I remember last week, it was Barney Kister at Supplies Network that shared some important information as far as Microsoft and some software issues that were affecting the print channel, right? So, pretty cool. The other thing, Ken, and I'll let you take this one because it's your favorite.
Yeah, we always like to know where people are watching from. So whether you're in Facebook, you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on LinkedIn, let us know and just put it in the comments where you're watching from, because it is truly a flat rate world. We have people worldwide that attend, and so I would encourage you to let us know where you're watching from. It just makes it interesting for everybody.
Yeah, it sure does. And I'm always amazed sometimes at the places that people do pop into the show from. So look forward to any of those comments if you have them. First thing I'll do is just talk about dates, right? So for those that don't know, it is November 9th and 10th. So get on to the itexshow.com website. You can find all the full details there. But it is November 9th and 10th in Viva Las Vegas, baby. And I can hardly wait to be there. And it looks like we do have somebody from Georgia. Hello there from Georgia. LinkedIn user. Yeah. Incognito. So maybe a spy, maybe somebody who shouldn't be on here. So let us know your name. Hello from Georgia. We'd love to give you a shout out. Yeah. So make sure you're there November 9th and 10th. And I will be discussing it earlier. I got my PCR test scheduled for this one. So pretty excited about that. It's funny, to get back into Canada, you can't do a rapid test. So I'm doubly vaccinated, and a rapid test you think would be fine, but it's not. So it does have to be a full PCR test. But there's this place in two of the hotels actually in Vegas that do 3-hour returns on full PCR testing. So if anyone needs that, reach out to me and I'll let you know how to get that organized for any fellow Canadians. For you lucky Americans, you don't have to worry about it. Oh, and it looks like here we go. Now we even got a face. Look at that. So good to see you, Sean, from Rochester, New York. Good to see you, buddy. And thanks for tuning in. Hopefully we'll see you at ITEX. So the cool thing, Ken, is that we have a couple of special guests today, so we don't have to.
We do.
Just talk about being attendees at ITEX. We've actually got the people that are putting this thing together, that have worked the magic for all these years and are getting ready to do it. So we're going to bring them in, and we're going to do a bit of a talk on the overview of ITEX. So without further ado, I'm first going to bring in Mr. Marc Spring. How are you, sir?
Very good. Thanks for having me, West. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks
Nice
for taking
to have you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time, buddy. And thanks for making sure that ITEX happens again. So again, one of my favorite shows, and I cannot wait to see you live and in person in November. And we've also got Mr. Randy Dazo. Randy, how are you, sir?
Good. How you guys doing?
Oh, no complaints at all.
I'm good.
And I'm going to hide our little stuff up there now so that we can actually see everybody. And really good to have you on board, Randy. And I've been working back and forth with you on some of the stuff for my presentation and, some of the other things at ITEX, and just really super excited to see you there. So thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Oh, look at that. We got Mary Klotch is in the house too. How are you, Mary? Thanks for tuning in. And there's Mr. Eric Crump. Eric Crump from Georgia. That's our secret spy who we can't see. And that's all right. We like Eric. So good to see you, buddy. Welcome. All right. So one of the things I want to start with, and maybe Marc, I'll get you to start with this, but for those that maybe don't know what ITEX is all about, maybe just give us an overview of what it's all about.
Sure. So ITEX, been producing the show, or part of the show, for 20 years. And it's a event for technology providers really to have their finger on the pulse of where the industry is headed. New products, new innovations are introduced every year at our event. And that's, really the primary function of ITEX is education, and educating the market on trends and also on, where the opportunities are that are the low-hanging fruit for business solution providers, office technology.
I like that. And the other cool thing is that ITEX, I noticed the logo's changed up a little bit this year. And it's because really, I mean, in the early days, it was really focused on office equipment dealers and sort of what was affecting us that way. But what's really cool is that you've really moved this into what I like to call the converged services reality, right? That office equipment dealers have to be doing more than just managed print and doing things the way that they used to. And you provide a really fertile, not just the training, but also the vendors and everyone else, the partners, to be able to sort of bring that to the forefront, right?
Yep. I mean, that's what it's about. Being able to exchange the ideas with the vendors who can, introduce the business solution providers to how to actually bring those new technologies on board. How, not just how you're going to sell it and how you're going to commission it and how you're going to tie it into your current model, because you really. It seems sometimes very daunting when you're going to offset this, what was truly a razor and razor blades type of business, right? And now it's not. Now we're into a real different type of area where you're providing a lot of services. It's a lot of manpower. It's really being able to control that overhead. I mean, that number is huge, right? But it's also hugely profitable. But it's, where before you looked on being able to make all that money in supplies, that's not going to be there as much going forward. So that's where we've tried to be taking the market over the last, probably 5-10 years. We're usually ahead of the curve on those types of things. We work with people like Randy. I'd love to say that I'm the genius of the industry. I'm not. What I do know is how, and this is what I think from my dad trained me from at a very young age, is that surround yourself with the best people, whether it's in your business, right? Or the partners that I've chosen, and also have chosen me. We have to choose each other back over the past, 20 years. That's how I built the event. I built it on knowing who knew stuff. And I've known Randy for too many years before this was like this. And we connect. We're buddies. Outside, we talk, but I respect his opinion and what he knows and who he knows, and that's the type of thing we try to bring to ITEX. When you go to a manufacturer's event, you're going to get one angle. You're going to get the manufacturer's angle. That's all they're going to talk to you about.
Sure.
And if it doesn't either sell more of their hardware or drive their technology initiative, those vendors aren't permitted inside of those OEM events, right? And then if you look at software events or user groups, and people say, well, I go to this event, I go to that event. what ITEX is, it's an open forum discussion of what the next step is, not for a $50 million or $100 million dealership, but the sweet spot of the industry, right? Well, those are still considered SMBs, but small dealerships, small solution providers that need to make that leap. And how do you do it? Because it's not like some of these guys who've got deep pockets and playing with other people's money. They go and buy an IT company, buy 5 IT companies. No, I got to start a managed IT company grassroots, man. I got to come in and figure out, how do I now, my technicians before, they were a break fix tech. Now I'm going to take some of them on a retrain. Is that doable? So those are the things that we really try to push. And now with COVID doubling down on that, I'll say it's not just doubling down, it's like 5 times. You look at technology, how fast it just moved forward. I know Randy will say, I say 5 to 10 years quicker. The people who would not have picked up, think about people who now have had to pick up iPads and use them instead of paper, or any other thing that you can think of now that we've gone through. We've learned how to do things. We're having this meeting. One of my businesses, completely virtual now.
Yeah.
Better than it was.
And I want to touch on something with Randy there that you brought up. So I'm actually going to jump ahead in my banners. And this one is the importance of ITEX in 2021 and beyond. And you talked about this idea that, the pandemic has acted as accelerant, right? That, there might have been a small, fire in the grass before, but somebody put some kerosene on it, right? And, maybe Randy, you can talk about the importance of ITEX this year and beyond because of this kind of acceleration of change.
No, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Marc said it before also. We've been talking about this, this diversification in what the dealer should be doing. No, not only the dealers, but the whole industry for, more than 5 years now. And yeah, the pandemic definitely accelerated that. It was a wake up call for the, for the OEMs, for the channels, because, we had to react really quickly. I mean, it went from chaos to figuring out, what should we be doing during the pandemic since people aren't going to be in the offices. So we saw a lot of challenges, of course, from a dealer perspective of what COVID actually had done. But, our channel is so resilient in terms of, the channel can think really quickly and be really agile. And there were some people that really did a good job of switching and diversifying quickly, went into managed IT services, started selling IT solutions for those people that needed to work from home, or for those companies that were opening offices, they were selling healthcare systems and things like that to take temperatures and those types of things. But, there were a lot of dealers that didn't really react fast enough. And I think that, this show will actually help them to determine what they should be doing moving forward. From our research, which we're going to be talking a lot about in the education part for both the pre-conference session and also the conference sessions, is really what happened during COVID, which we saw, almost a third to 2/3 of the pages almost disappearing overnight. It's crazy how many pages, and all those pages are revenue dollars, obviously for the OEMs, for the dealers. Some of them weren't impacted as much because they had their contracts and things, but obviously when it came to the hardware, sales weren't happening. So they had to figure out really quickly how to actually, diversify and get into new areas. And that's what ITEX is going to be about, is talking about the new opportunities that dealers should be getting into if they haven't done already. And not only the why, but really the how. So we're actually having two days worth of sessions. There's pre-conference sessions that are on the 9th. And then the regular conference sessions that are on the 10th. And we can talk a little bit more about that if you're ready.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'll bring everyone else back in. And yeah, the education tracks are really what get me excited about it. And I can tell people firsthand that, the ITEX group is really good about making sure that it is educational in structure, right? That it actually is helpful. Because, one of the other problems, and Marc, you hit on it earlier, is that sometimes at some of these events, when we get people speaking, if it's not directed as carefully as ITEX is, it can become a sales pitch, right? Somebody trying to sell their thing in a loosely veiled version of education.
Yep.
And from my experience, that has never been the case at ITEX. That anytime I get into those sessions, that there is real solid state learning going on. And the fact that you're working with Randy this year with the Key Point and with all of the knowledge that him and his group have, that this year is going to be better than ever, right? So let's talk a little bit about those education tracks, Randy, as you kind of, just alluded to there.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, on the 9th, we're doing the pre-show conference, which is just going to be Key Point Intelligence, talking about our research that we've done over the past year and a half, talking about the COVID situation, explaining, the page volume and the hardware challenges, how many pages were lost, over the past year and a half to where we are today. And then also our forecast of what this is going to look like in the future for the core business. Obviously, A3 and A4 are still really important, but also talking about some of the shifts that are happening in those technologies too, for the channel to really understand where they should be focusing on their core side of their business. The other areas that we're going to be talking about are, again, like the why they should be looking at some of these new areas in technology or in other print areas such as production print or wide format printing and things like that. So the first day is really going to be the why they should be getting into these new areas. The second day is really for the people that are going to be doing most of the speaking, which are the conference exhibitors, as well as some of the speaking people that we actually brought on to talk about the how. And what we did is we split that up into 3 tracks for the 10th, which are the future technologies track, a future solutions and services track, and then a future dealership track. So the future technologies track is going to talk, mostly about other new technologies they should be getting into. The future solutions and services around different types of software solutions, as well as, services like IT services. And the future dealership is going to really talk about more of the operation side, how dealers should be, looking at marketing to operations to even new areas that they can be getting into, such as e-commerce. And there's a whole bunch of great speakers that we have lined up for us to for them to actually talk about those things.
Yeah, I love it. And not just the speakers, but other people that are of like minds. And I can remember years ago, I was actually at an ITEX event, and it was before any of this nonsense, sort of hit the world. And I was speaking with a buddy who was an office equipment dealer, and he was an early adopter of managed IT services, right? And I can remember being very intrigued by that, saying, well, that's interesting. Like, what's the same, what's different, what kind of challenges are you having and everything else. And speaking with him recently, because he's done everything that you just talked about, sort of moving into these future technologies, he said, West, through the pandemic, my business actually grew. So he said, yes, I, like everyone else, saw a decline in what was happening with my managed print practice, but I had such an increase in all of these other sort of converged technologies related to that I grew. How cool is that, right? So I would encourage everyone on these education tracks to come and see that for themselves. I have to say, sorry, go ahead, Marc.
Yeah, so that has always been right there, what you just said, the core of ITEX. Randy talked a little to the point before of how resilient, copier office equipment now, our solution provider channel is, our solution provider channel. I mean, I grew up in it. I've been in the industry, oh God, almost 40 years.
1 or 2 years?
And, throughout the transition, at least from the time that I started, I owned Image Source magazine. I don't know if anybody knew that we started Image Source, and then ITEX. And it's always been, ITEX has been a trendsetter in that vendors who saw the channel as an opportunity, we would reach out to those people and say, yeah, you know what? We see that business equipment provider as a great partner, reseller partner for our products. Some of them stumbled and didn't survive it. A great case in point is DocuWare, who didn't, right? DocuWare really was an early adopter of ITEX and evolved off. ITEX and Image Source magazine. And they really were able to leverage that. And now they are probably the most significant player in document management by utilizing our space.
Yeah.
The dealers in this channel, the owners in this channel are true marketing, entrepreneurial salespeople. They don't come from the technical side. They're very good at reinventing themselves. But when you go to an event like ITEX, and now the education, do the vendors participate? Absolutely. But they have to support it with dealers, with case studies, with the facts that what they are presenting is always conceptual. And you don't, but they have to be able to have the proof in the pudding. And we want to be able to share that with the channel. And that's how we do it. We do it through those education tracks. That's why it's a trade show. People are there to really try to find those new opportunities. And right now, with the issues that we have with supply chain interruption.
Oh, man.
And I don't know if you're going to go to that point later, but I'm talking to our dealers that can't get machines, of course.
Yep.
Supplies, I'm in that business in another side, and the pricing and everything, what was literally a $2,000 container from is now costing me $20,000. The same freaking, sorry,
Yeah.
right? But the same container. So what's happened is that this is an opportunity. There's going to be vendors that are at our event, and they are American vendors. I'll tell you that, because there's not a lot of overseas people that are traveling into right now. This is an American vendor show. I would recommend, if you're having any supply chain interruption, if you might have a vision, there might be some supply chain interruption. But right now, your businesses, everybody's businesses, I feel like in our industry, are starting to feel on the IT side more opportunities, right? I'd recommend going to ITEX. Can believe that. And using the education to pivot onto the show floor. That's how it works. I mean,
Yeah.
Randy's gonna bring in kind of a quick what happened. Where's it going to get back to? Where are these opportunities in the print side, right?
Yeah.
And then, but how do you pivot off of those into UCAS, VoIP? How do you pivot into conference room system? I don't know what you want to call that, Randy. That
Collaboration, conference room,
Maybe,
security,
yeah.
another area that's really big that we have someone speaking on. Security, yeah, there's a lot of good.
And you don't get that at other events. Why? Because if you go to a manufacturer's event, you're only going to get the equipment they want you to sell. It goes along with whatever they've approved.
Yeah. I think
that. Yeah. So go ahead.
I think what I'm going to toss in there too is that, I've been to other events where, they kind of let people speak about, how the industry is falling apart, right? And they don't have any solutions. And that's one thing I've always loved about what happens at ITEX is like, here's where the problems are. Here's how we fix it. And as my dad used to say, don't ever come to me with a problem unless you got a solution, an idea, right? And ITEX is that. And it's not just the class sessions. I've got mine listed down there. I'll actually be talking about MPS and the subscription economy. And I will be in Lachlan 3 at 2 p.m. Local time in Vegas. And I encourage everyone to come to that, because I won't just be talking about subscription for managed print, but how it has helped other industries in the service world to pivot, to give them a level, platform to be able to do what they do today. And everything is becoming a service, right? So I'm not going to speak too much more on that, but make sure you're there, Lachlan 3, 2 p.m., and we'll be talking about all things subscription and just how important it is. The one thing that I just love is that it's not just the classes, but when you get those peers together, as you were both talking about sort of this idea for shifting away from pages, because believe me, print's not going to save anybody's butt in the next 12 months, right? It's not, we're never going back to normal. But those pivots into those other areas, those complementary converged areas, can be game-changing, can be life-changing for the health of that business, right? So looking forward to that.
You can lead with those products, right? Now, if you're going to walk into a company today, you need to lead with solutions. I don't know what I'm calling them. They're not COVID solutions, but they are having to do with remote office.
Sure.
They are having to do with video conferencing. They are having to do with a great UCAS system. And that, to me, your print follows that in. If you're going to walk in the door and lead with, I've got printers, that's not good. Okay. Now, not to say that they don't need them, and not to say that you don't know that that's a huge money-making opportunity, which I'm very surprised there's not more managed IT companies trying to grab the print. I'm always blown away by that, but maybe I just don't get it.
I'm with you.
I don't. I know. I mean, the people who service our network here, they don't handle the printers, and I find it, and I could show them how to do it, and they just not interested.
And Ken, it looks like you had some to add there too.
Well, and that was one of the things that's so amazing, because dealers are sitting on such a goldmine opportunity. Because we'll think about a managed IT provider, for example. How many customers do they have in their customer database? 20, 50, 100?
Right.
You know, where a copier dealer could have anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000. So they have a captive market already that they can go in and take these other opportunities too. So that's just one piece of it. And then when you add the ability to lead with something else, so you go in and somebody else has got the print. Well, that's okay. I don't care about the print. I was actually here to talk to you about your phone system, or your managed IT, or your security, right, or your water, or your all of these things. And it's just an incredible opportunity for dealers that are alert and start thinking about and start creating a plan for the future.
That's right. And to learn. And I think that's one thing we often forget about. Is the importance of learning, and the fact that I've always discovered, at least, that I've never had an original idea, but through learning, I latch on to quite a few other good ideas that people have come up with in the past, right? And certainly that's, I think, one of the things that we'll be doing is learning from other dealers, learning from people that have been through this. We're not alone. We're much stronger together if we learn together, right? So,
and the point that you guys were making before too, for the dealers and for this show specifically being a live show this year, is that, it does give the dealers the opportunity to collaborate with each other and talk to each other live, where you really can't do that, in a web, conference. A lot of challenges, just come in, like the supply chain issues that we're having. That's not one of the things that we're going to be talking about in the conference session, but I was talking to a dealer the other day, and he was telling me some of the things that he's doing around supplies, around products, to get products in the right hands. And that's just through a conversation that you just have, in the middle of a hallway.
That's right.
So,
those are
valuable things that you can actually get from going to ITEX this year, instead of just, having learning about things.
You never get a better density of experts than when you're at ITEX. It's just hands down. I love it. And listen, we are running out of time here, so I do have to get into it. Unfortunately, start moving towards the end. But Marc, I know that you got a special offer. I did put up the code down there, but maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. If you use VAM 2020, it'll give you 20% off of anything you register for you and your all of your employees to come to ITEX.
Nice. Well, I appreciate that. I'm going to get the t-shirt made. And Randy, Marc, I cannot thank you guys enough, both for being on our show this morning. As you know, we're at Flat Rate World. We're all about sort of change and subscription and moving into the future. So really thrilled to be able to see you guys pretty shortly, in just a few weeks. Thank you.
Thank you.
And it was good meeting you guys.
Well, Ken, that's going to be a ton of fun. I can hardly wait now. And I'm telling you, these days are going to go by fast, but certainly encourage all of our viewers to make sure that if you're not registered, if you haven't booked your tickets, do it. We want to see you in Vegas. We want to learn together. We want to keep driving this channel forward. It doesn't matter what this channel is going to look like, what the mix is, but that's the beauty of a show like ITEX, is the ability to come there and have that conversation and be an active participant in building what the future of this channel looks like. So
I agree 100%. And you and I are both so supportive, really, of organizations like ITEX, MPSA, BTA, the places where you can learn not only from vendors and from others that come in to speak, but from your peers. This is how we work together and collaborate to all of us succeed. And sure, some of your competitors will be there, and you may want to be careful what you say. But here's the other piece of it is you can build connections with people that aren't your competitors and start to have conversations with them. And it is those conversations where you have people that you know and that you respect, and you can have offline conversations, where it's you and them, or in small groups of non-competitive dealers, that you can really get down in the weeds and talk about what you're doing. And I see huge results for dealers that participate like that.
Yeah, I do absolutely as well, and can't wait for that. So until next time, everybody, make sure that you keep learning and really get ready for some awesome learning and some peer interaction for the future of our channel come for ITEX. So we will see you at the latest on November 9th and 10th. Thank you, everybody.
All right. We'll see everybody.